Hey guys, welcome back to Media Jacks. We're going to be talking about Adobe's all new prototyping and design software called XD, Experience Design. It's a great tool, and designers out there are going to love it. If you're into UI, UX, you're going to love it too. A couple of things we're going to cross in this episode. We're going to talk about some basic prototyping tools, some basic stuff that XD has already integrated into their system. So let's get started, yeah? All right. So number one, we're going to talk about artboards. Now, if you look at this little icon here, this is where you get you started with your artboards. If you click on that icon, this is a list of artboards that have been pre-created by Adobe. If you look at it, it's quite exhaustive. It's got every top device out there in the market, and it's pre-created with their resolutions. So what that actually means is that you can create artboards onto this canvas by just clicking here, right? So if I click there, that's an iPhone 6 and 7 Plus artboard. I can create more artboards by choosing what I want to show. I can choose an iPad, I can choose an iPad Pro, I can choose an Apple Watch, I can choose an Android mobile, an Android tablet, an Android Wear, Surface Pro, and an entire range of web resolutions. So what this actually means is that I can start getting into prototyping and designing my entire artboards right here directly. It's pre-created. Of course, I can change my width and height specifically if I want to. I can move into landscape to portrait mode. I can change scrolling effects. I can have a viewport height. I can give it a color if I want to change anything. And of course, I can move into the grid structure. So if I just zoom in here, you'll see the grids have been pre-created. I can turn that off and grids will turn off as well. So yeah, artboards are a great way of getting started. All you need to do is select the artboard that you want to work on, and then you can use shortcuts such as Command and 3 to get selected on your artboard. If I want to see the entire canvas of all, this is my bird's eye view of all my artboards. All right. So number two, we're going to talk about elements. So elements are created by you into Adobe XD. So let's get started with some elements. I'm going to delete all these artboards. I just don't need them at the moment. Just going to create a single artboard. I'm going to use something big like Surface Pro. That's a very big one. So I'm going to zoom in there. Now the Surface Pro is the artboard I'm choosing, and I'm going to create a couple of elements under this. Oops, I made a mistake. Let's go back. Okay, so the Surface Pro, I'm going to create an artboard. Now if you look at this, this is square. I can go into my artboard and just start creating a square or a rectangle as I want. I can hold down the shift button and create an accurate square, and I can place that anywhere onto my screen. So I'm just going to keep that there for now. I'll go back to my selection tool, and you can see these little four dots at the corners of that square. Well, that's going to create my border radius if I just click it and bring it in. Clicking and bringing it in will change that border radius, and if I bring it in a lot, it'll make it a proper circle. See that? Now that's pretty cool when you want to start designing stuff, especially when you want to create low fidelity mocks and then show your teams what you've been working on. If I want to move a specific corner of that square into a border radius, I can just go here, click on this little border radius icon, and then change the corner radius to 40. You see that? It's just this one that has actually taken radius shape. I can also go into this and change the color. I can fill it up. I can use a color picker too if I want to select something specific from this page. I can reduce, oh that's gone white, but I can reduce opacity as well. Let's make that black. I can reduce opacity. I can draw a shadow on that. Let's move that shadow a little off. You see that shadow just came in there? I can remove and place a border, and I can do a lot more with background blur. So background blur is a great way of doing a little bit of design as well inside XD. Besides squares, you can actually make ellipses as well. So you stretch, you can make a proper eclipse, or you can hold down the shift and then stretch, it'll become a proper circle. So you can do the same things what you did with the square as in a circle and eclipse as well. Adobe have also given us a line tool for us to divide and draw accurate lines. I can point this to one end to the other end. I can also draw a straight line by holding down the shift command, right? And besides all this, Adobe will also give us the pen tool, which I can actually use to create my own artboards. So now, I'm sorry, not artboards, my own design. So what I can do is I can actually pull in and push out. So if I click here and I pull in, you see how that goes in? Now, I'm very bad at creating these designs. I'm very bad at using the pen tool, so I'm not going to really do that. I just want to give you a broad outlook of what you can do. Again, you can change the x-axis, the y-axis, remove the opacity, pull in some fill elements, some color, throw some shadow. You can do a lot of things with this, right? So that's number two, and that's elements. I want to get rid of all that. Third thing I want to talk about is the text tool. Now, the text tool is a fairly nicely done way of getting things prototyped with XD. So I'm going to click on the text tool. I can also press T and bring up the text tool. I'm going to type in hello, how are you? Now if you see that, it's written very small, but you see this little dot, I can hold it and bring it and make it bigger, so I can adjust the font size directly by just pulling and pushing that little bubble on the text box. Now I can move that around, I can place it wherever I want. I can change the font size from here, I can change the thickness of the font, I can change the font itself if I want to. Like again, I can bring on the opacity, you can change the color and border, etc. I can do a lot of things, right? I can also move second line and say I'm fine, and then select everything inside that text box to move center line, left line, and stuff like that. I can reduce the height, the line height between them, and I can increase the font weight between them. Plus I can change the x-axis, the y-axis, and of course I'll able to rotate as well. So now that we've covered the text, I want to talk about paragraphs. So let's talk about building a paragraph of text inside Adobe XD. Um, let's go to something that I want to copy off the web. Let's say I'm going to move to, to something that I found here. I'm going to copy all these items. Okay, let's just go here. I'm going to copy this entire paragraph. I'm going to move into Adobe XD. So what I'm going to do is just press Command C over here, get into my XD artboard, and press Command V. So now it pasted the entire text element, and I can use the corners to actually adjust the placement of this. So I can move down, I can move up, and you see this little dot in the circle? It indicates that there's more text at the bottom, so I can stretch that down and create more. I can then move this to where I want to place it, and again I can change the color, and I can do everything I want to do with this, from formatting. I can select it, all. I can just select a specific area and then bold that out, and then again font size and things like that, right? So that's pretty much what the text element does, and that's pretty straightforward. The next thing I want to talk about is icons and how you're going to place images inside XD. Let's talk about simple icons, because Adobe have created a system called symbols, as you can see here. Symbols is a very neat way of creating, of not creating exactly, but of placing elements inside your artboards. Now let's take, for example, I have a bunch of images and icons that I want to use from here. Ideally, what I would be doing is I'll be downloading them and then I'll be importing them into my Adobe system, but I don't want to do that. It's just too much effort. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at the image that I want. I'm going to just drag it and I'm going to drop it into my board. Well, I can't do that. I think I have to just right click, copy, and I'm going to drop it in my board. So now that I've dropped it in my board, I want to use this again and again in multiple places, but I'm too afraid that, I might have lost this page, or I just can't find the same icon again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to say make it a symbol. Once I make it a symbol, it's available for me to use anytime. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some more images, right click, copy image, and then paste it here. Just right click, missed that, right click, copy image, and then I want to paste that here. So what I want to do is I want to make this a symbol, and I'm going to make this a symbol, and I'm going to delete these three elements off my artboard right now. So now I can create new artboards if I want to create my second screen and my third screen and things like that. And I don't really care about going back into the web and finding that image again, or importing into Adobe again, because Adobe now remembers my icons because I've created them as symbols, and I can use them whenever I want by just placing them in. And I can use them as many times as I want and wherever I want, because, well, I've created symbols of them. What I recommend people to do is to go down to the internet and then download your own symbol packs. You can then import them directly into Adobe and then get started by using a whole bunch of icons similar to stuff like this or whatever you want. You can just download stuff and just move it inside Adobe XD. So that's symbols for you. The next thing I want to talk about is images and how we can actually manipulate and play with these images inside Adobe XD. So for this, we're going to do a little small experiment. We're going to actually create a little app, if you can say. We're going to try to design an app. Let's try to take, for example, I'm going to build something on a Surface Pro, and this Surface Pro is actually going to be a simple gallery app design. So I'm going to draw a little header with a rectangle tool. I'm going to move that inside here. I'm going to spread that out fully, give it a little more height. Then I'm going to color that a little black, just for representation. I'm going to call this gallery. I'm going to increase that font size a little bit to something bigger. I'm going to move that into the header, and then I'm going to color that white. So now I have that. I'm going to go and take something called a menu, or I can take a hamburger menu and just choose that. Right click, copy image. I'm going to change that to white. Actually, this might not work because this is not a vector. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that there, irrespective, and place that there just to change the background color to something that will accept it. So I'm going to move that into the pink pastels. Yeah, okay, well, that's enough, I think. Yeah. So I have a gallery. I'm going to change that to black just to make it look a little decent. So what I'm going to actually do next is, okay, that pink's really too jarring. I'm going to change that up a bit. Sorry, that purple's fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to place images into my gallery, right? So there are a couple ways I can do this. I can actually search for images that I want to take. So I'm going to go to portraits. I'm going to search for some images. Oh, look, there's a good picture of you, Laurie. I'm going to take that. I'm going to look at that image. Oh, that's a big resolution image. So I'm going to copy that image and I'm going to paste it here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit because that's a fairly big image of him. I'm going to bring it up a little smaller by holding shift just to make sure I don't mess up the resolution. Let's zoom in a little bit. And now we'll just place that there. So now I'm trying to create a mock-up, a representation of what my gallery is going to look like. But I'm not going to go back into Chrome and pick up new images because that's just tiring, isn't it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this. Then I'm going to repeat this grid. You see this in the top right corner? I'm going to repeat that grid. And it gives me these two options for me to just drag and pull out what I want to show. Similarly, I'll pull it out down. So now I've created this entire gallery system so I can just put images that I want inside by just repeating the grid. Now that's a pretty straight way of doing things. But let's say that I wanted to put it inside a grid, inside an element. Is that possible? Of course it is. So I'm going to take a circle. I'm going to draw a proper circle by holding down the shift command. I'm going to move that circle just where I want to place it so I can replace my grid. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my image. I'm going to import it in a different way now. I'm going to hold and drag and highlight and then move it inside the circle that I want to place it in. So I'm going to just drop that there, and there is you, Laurie. So now I'm going to go back to my repeat grid and I'm going to pull that out, and I have more of you, Laurie, to look at in my gallery. Pretty straightforward, and that's a great way of doing things. Now, we've covered most of the elements. We've covered most of the things that we want to talk about and the tools that Adobe have introduced into their system. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to delete this as well. In fact, I'm just going to delete this artboard. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you something that someone has worked on, and I got it downloaded from guruxd.com. GuruXD is a place where you can actually get files that have been pre-created, so you can start playing around and tinkering with them. So let's just go to a file that I have. It's on my desktop. That's it. Someone created a mobile checkout system. So now look at that. Now that is a properly created design, prototyped and created by getting into a lot of detail. So you can see someone's actually made the checkout page, the sign-in page, the address page, the payment, the summary, and the success page as well. So what's going to happen now is that I have created all this, or somebody has created all this, and it's my job now to start prototyping this and show my marketing team and show whatever teams that I want to pitch this to of how it's going to work. But before I start developing, I need to show it as a working prototype. So you see this little tool there called prototype. Now this is where the magic happens. So what I want to do exactly is I want to say that if a guy clicks on this icon, when it highlights, I click on it, let him see this page. So I'm just going to drag that here and let him see that page. I can show a kind of transition by saying it's going to slide up. I'm going to see for how long, things like that, and it's created. So what that means right now is that when I press play and I click on this, that's what happens. Pretty straightforward. Similarly, if I say that if I want to click on this and I can move this pre-created flow to say he has to see this, then all he needs to do is change this up or to whatever he wants. So he push down, pre-create, when he clicks on that, push down. So there we are. We've covered all the tools that Adobe have done, and now we've gone into prototyping, and I hope this tutorial helps you out. I hope you can create great stuff out there, and I hope Media Jacks will be around with you to help you create the next big thing. Don't forget to check out some of the Adobe XD stuff that we have for you. It's available at debston.com. I'll leave that link down in the video. And all the best, guys. And I hope this XD tool will help you out, build some great apps and some great designs.